Questions? Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Jesse Weeks. Good morning all. Thank you all for being here. I'm here to provide you with an update as to an incident that took place early this morning at 446 just behind me at the U.S. Consulate. This is a site where we have had officers stationed in a security detail since March 10th. And at approximately 4:46 a.m. this morning, the officer that was stationed here at the consulate heard the sound of a gunshot in the vicinity here where he was stationed. This officer radioed the information and noticed a white late model Honda Accord with no license plates in the area and saw it speeding away from the scene. This information was conveyed to other officers in the area, and officers from 52 Division located this vehicle a short distance away and engaged in a vehicle pursuit. We believe the direction of travel of this vehicle was along Gerrard Street East, eastbound towards the DVP. It's at this location where the pursuit was mostly engaged, and it proceeded northbound along the Don Valley Parkway at very high rates of speed. Because of the danger posed by the rate of speed of the suspect vehicle, at around Don Mills and the DVP, the pursuit was discontinued as per our procedures, and the officers discontinued their following. At the scene here, evidence of one single projectile discharge was found, a shell casing, as well as some damage to the front of the facade of the U.S. Consulate. At this time, the Toronto Police Service Integrated Gun and Gang Task Force, as supported by the Counterterrorism and Security Unit, is conducting a very active investigation. As we will have known from March 10th when a shooting occurred at this location, we will approach this investigation with great seriousness. We did arrest 3 individuals for that shooting. Unfortunately, however, in the execution of those arrests, we did lose one of our officers, Constable Mark Pinizzato, in the line of duty. We will also, in this case, take it as seriously as ever, and we will bring the people responsible for this to justice. Anyone in the vicinity between 4:30 and 5 o'clock along University here between College and, let's say, Queen Street, if they saw something, noticed something unusual, have any dash cam footage, we would ask that they contact the Toronto Police Service so that it might aid in the investigation. The telephone number to call is 416-808-2510, 2510. That is the number for our Integrated Gun and Gang Task Force. At this point, I will now turn the microphone over to Superintendent Jonathan Coe of the RCMP, who will then be followed on in remarks with Mayor Chow. Afterwards, we will do our best to answer some questions. However, I will point out that it is quite early in this investigation. Some information I may not be able to share, and some information I simply may not know at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Good morning. I'm Superintendent Jonathan Coe, the Acting Criminal Operations Officer for Central Region with the RCMP. This morning, our community experienced another troubling incident. The RCMP Federal Policing Central Region Integrated National Security Enforcement Team in the GTA is working with the Toronto Police Service as well as our international partners to investigate this matter. It is currently too early to determine the motive of the shooting that took place outside the American Consulate here in Toronto. Earlier this year, similar incident occurred, met with coordinated response from our law enforcement agencies. Although we're early in the investigation, I can assure the public that this shooting is being investigated with the same dedication that resulted in those arrests back in June. Threats and violence towards any persons within Canada are taken very seriously. I want to reassure everyone that our main priority is to keep our community safe, with to continue to work diligently with our partners to investigate this matter to identify the people responsible and hold them accountable for their actions. I invite Mayor Olivia Chow to speak.
Yeah. Thank you. Early this morning, a shot was fired at the U.S. Consulate. This is when there is a police cruiser with the lights flashing right in front of it. It's a brazen attack. I want to thank the Toronto Police and RCMP and other federal agencies that are working very closely together to solve this crime and hopefully prevent future ones. They have my full support. This morning I spoke to the Minister of Public Safety, and we pledge to continue to work closely together to both moves the illegal American guns off our street, and two, to bring those that are responsible to justice and prevent other shootings. I want to say to the person or persons responsible, we will get you. We have apprehended the previous shooters, all three of them, and we will bring you to justice. You will be held accountable. I have full confidence that our police and with all federal public safety agencies will be able to do so. Questions to folks?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you explain, was aerial support not available at the time of the pursuit? And can you explain what happens when you stop pursuit? What happens next? Are there other units that then monitor highway exits? What are the next steps?
In a way, you've answered some of your own questions, so that's exactly what would happen. When a pursuit is discontinued, that doesn't mean that we have completely stopped. There will be other officers. We will have conveyed this information to all areas in the vicinity, and other officers will be on the lookout, in other words. In terms of aerial support, my understanding that it was not available at this time. Had it been, no doubt the outcome might have turned out differently. It's a great advantage to police in high-speed pursuits when we simply cannot pursue them on the ground, if you will, because of the danger that it poses to the public.
During the pursuit, were the officers able to tell, was there one suspect in the vehicle? Were there multiple people?
I'm afraid I don't have that information to share at this time.
Deputy Chief, and maybe the Mayor can talk about this. You mentioned that there was an officer stationed there, lights were on, cruiser was out there, and still the shooting took place. Is there anything else, like what more could police do to try to prevent some action?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate the question that you would expect a highly visible police cruiser stationed right in front of the consulate would act as a deterrent. It perhaps speaks to the brazen quality of this act, the recklessness that's involved. Certainly, to engage in a high-speed pursuit, at certain points the speeds were in excess of 140 kilometers per hour. So we are dealing with quite a dangerous individual or individuals. I don't know, what was the second part? What more can be done? Well, this is something that we put our minds to regularly. So we do have a counterterrorism and security unit, so there is a lot of policing that happens behind the scenes. There's what you will see conspicuously in the public eye, and then there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes for rather obvious reasons. I cannot tell you what all those steps are, but I can assure you that there are a lot of efforts underway that cannot be seen that certainly try to not only deter, but certainly apprehend the individuals responsible for this when it does happen.
Is there any possible connection between this incident here and the shooting that happened over the weekend between the two Jewish bakery chains?
So we would not, as a matter of course, rule out any possible connection. As I said, perhaps in my opening remarks, it's too early to say. The investigators will follow the evidence to where it leads. So the answer is it's possible, but we don't know that for a fact, and it's certainly not something that I would be able to share at this moment.
Any update on that investigation into the shooting over the weekend of the bakeries?
None that I can provide at this moment. I can tell you that that is also extremely active as an investigation. We have our best investigators working on this. They're making progress, but it's too soon to really provide much of an update on that.
Are you also looking into the possible link of criminals for hire that was a similar situation that happened back in March?
I hate to give you the exact same answer, but it's too early to say. We obviously would not rule that out as a possibility. We do know that that is a phenomenon that has unfortunately grown in the GTA area. Some criminals simply do perform services for hire. They don't have any personal interest in the matter. They simply are hired to carry out a specific act of criminality. So if it leads to that, the evidence, we will certainly share that. And at this moment, it's too soon to say.
What was the officer doing at the time of the shooting when he was on the detail?
I haven't spoken to the officer directly. My understanding is they were as assigned at their post and noticed or heard the sound of a gunshot and immediately went into action, which essentially led to us almost making an arrest. Unfortunately, we came quite close, but not quite. It's because of that officer's actions that we were able to get up on our target, our suspect, and that's why we actually managed to get involved in a pursuit. Had it turned out a little bit differently, we might have been telling you about an arrest that we made, but we hope to be doing that in the coming days and weeks.
Just to be clear, was it only one shot that was fired at the building?
Our understanding at this time is that it was one shot, one projectile, one shell casing, one evidence of damage on the facade.
Deputy Chief, can you speak about the Jewish recently put out a suspect vehicle photo? Where's the latest? Is that you're trying to investigate?
So, as I said a moment ago, that investigation is very active, very ongoing. As soon as we are able to provide some further information, we will. We did provide, I think, a description of the suspect vehicle and those two shootings were linked to each other, I think, is something we provided. Other than that, I don't have much more information or detail that I can share at this time.
Which agencies are working with this?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, just with the shooting, I don't know if I misheard you. You said something about the license plate on the vehicle. Was there a license plate? Was there no?
There was no license plate on the vehicle.
Is that not highly unusual? And does that make you think that that vehicle was taken specifically to do this act?
Well, I would hazard a guess. Again, I'm not the investigator and I'm not looking at the evidence, but there's a certain element of premeditation, I suspect, that you might agree is likely. So I don't think it's just a fluke that there was no license plate on the vehicle, but it is something that happened. So,
Which international agencies are?
So the question is, was someone inside the building? The answer is yes. There were two security personnel inside the building at the time. I'm not aware as to whether if they even noticed. A handgun round fired at this very fortified building is not something that, if you were inside, you might notice. Yes. Oh, for Superintendent Coe. Sir.
Thank you for the question. I can't speak to the international nexus to this particular incident. We regularly work with our international partners on a regular basis on all types of investigations, including national security investigations. This investigation is very early in stages to comment on any links to the person you're speaking to in New York.
Which international agencies are you working with on this investigation?
We work with a variety of international agencies in the U.S. and right across the world.
You've had security detail here since March 10th. You've had security details around Jewish community centers. You've stepped up the force. You've seen yet another gruesome attack as a colleague to the consulate. What more could be done to make Torontonians feel safe? This is a place fighting every day long, and despite all this
I appreciate that question, and I agree with you, and I share that sentiment of great concern. To have something like this happen in our downtown core, albeit it did happen at 4 in the morning or 4:46 in the morning, that's small comfort that we would have a shooting as brazen, as despicable as the one we've seen and have seen in the past. I can assure Torontonians that the Toronto Police Service and our partners, federal, provincial, and otherwise, are very much actively working to not only deter but apprehend people involved in this. We have made arrests in practically all of the other shootings at great cost to the Toronto Police Service in one instance. So we will continue with the same level of effort, same level of conviction and dedication to deal with this. I sympathize, I agree with your concern. I'm a Torontonian and I know how you are thinking. This should not be happening. We're going to bring the people responsible for this to justice and do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Superintendent. That concludes our news conference. Thank you very much for coming.
You've been listening to an update from officials outside the U.S. Consulate on University Avenue after at least one bullet struck the building early this morning. Police confirming it was one of their own officers stationed outside the consulate that actually heard the shot. The officer also spotted a vehicle fleeing and alerted other officers who gave chase. The pursuit was called off because it was deemed to be too dangerous, getting up to speeds of 140 kilometers an hour. Now, investigators are looking to speak to any witnesses who may have been in the area at the time of the shooting. TPS joined at the press conference by the RCMP and Mayor Olivia Chow. Now, the U.S. Embassy was previously shot at back in March, and that's why there was an officer stationed outside of it overnight. 2 Jewish-owned bakeries also damaged over the weekend, one also being shot at. The other had the front glass smashed. Investigators not linking all of these incidents right now. They did release, though, an image of a dark-colored SUV believed to be involved in both of the bakery incidents. You're watching CBC News Toronto. We'll have more stories from our city when we come back.